Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Sri Srimad His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Gantra Srimad Bhagvatam Ki Jai, Jai Gaur Premanande. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 8, titled Praise by Queen Kunti and Maharaj Parikshit Saved. Text number 12. Tari evata munishresta. Tari evata munishresta. Pandava panchasayakan. Pandava panchasayakan. Atmano abhimukhan diptan. Atmano abhimukhan diptan. Alakshyastrani upadadu. Alakshyastrani upadadu. Taryevata munishresta. Bandava panchasayakan. Atmano abhimukhan diptan. Alakshyastrani upadadu. Taryevata munishresta. Pandava panchasayakan. Atmano abhimukhan diptan. Alakshyastrani upadadu. Taryevata munishresta. Pandava panchasayakan. Alakshyastrani upadadu. Mataji's. Taryevata munishresta. Pandava panchasayakan. Atmano abhimukhan diptam. Alakshyastrani upadadu. Word for word translation, Tarhi, then, Eva, also, Ata, therefore, Munishresta, O chief amongst the Munis, Pandava, all the sons of Pandu, Pancha, 5, Sayakan, weapons, Atmanaha, own selves, Abhimukhan, towards, Diptan, glaring, Alakshya, seeing it, Astrani, weapons, Upadadu, took up. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. O foremost amongst the great thinkers, Munis, Sonaka, seeing the glaring Brahmastra proceeding towards them, the Pandavas took up their 5 respective weapons. Purport: the Brahmastras are finer than the nuclear weapons. Aswatthama discharged the Brahmastra simply to kill the Pandavas, namely the 5 brothers headed by Maharaj Yudhishthira, and their only grandson, who was lying within the womb of Uttara. Therefore, the Brahmastra, more effective and finer than the atomic weapons, was not blind as the atomic bombs. When atomic bombs are discharged, they do not discriminate between the target and others. Mainly, the atomic bombs do harm to the innocent because there is no control. The The Brahmastra is not like that. It marks out the target and proceeds accordingly without harming the innocent. Om Agyanati Mrandasya Ganjana Salakaya Chaksul Metamena Tasmei Shri Guruve Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you for coming to Srimad Bhagavatam class. So, we're just seeing at the start of this chapter how, just quickly recapping that after Aswatthama was rightly punished by Arjuna and then outcast, then the Pandavas, they were grieving for the dead on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and they were offering Ganges water so they could get elevated, get a higher destination. And then after that, we saw how Krishna, he was preparing to leave Hastinapur and go back to Dwarka. And just as he's about to leave, he sees Uttara coming to him and crying out, Krishna, Krishna, Mahabhava, Deva, Deva, Jagatpate. Oh Krishna, Pahi, Pahi, Mahayogin, Deva, Deva, Jagatpate. That please protect me, O Mahayogin, O greatest mystic. Deva Deva Jagatpate. Deva Deva means the worshipable of the worshipped, the God of all gods. Jagatpate, O Lord of the universe. Like this, she cries out to Krishna and tells Krishna, please protect me because this fiery weapon, this fiery arrow is coming towards my womb. And it's about to kill my embryo, my unborn child in my womb. And then she says that, I don't mind, if it's your desire, then let my body burn to ashes. If it's your desire, but just don't let any harm come to my baby in my womb. So like this, she's praying to Krishna, and this arrow or this deadly weapon that's coming towards her, in today's verse we're hearing, this is actually a Brahmastra, and this Brahmastra is released by the same Aswatthama they punished in the previous chapter. So it seems like Aswatthama, he still hasn't learned his lesson even after being bound up and humiliated and punished. Still, again, he's committing such a heinous act again. This time he's aiming the Brahmastra at the embryo of Uttara. So Uttara is coming and praying to the Lord and taking shelter of the Lord. And in today's purport, Prabhupada is also saying that this Brahmastra that Aswatthama he released, it wasn't only aimed at Maharaj Parikshit in the womb, but it was also aimed at all the Pandavas. So Aswatthama's plan was that the 5 Pandavas and this baby in the womb, they're the only remaining descendants. And so if I kill the 5 brothers, and if I kill their only child, who is yet to be born, then that's it, the whole dynasty will be finished. And that way I'll have my revenge. So, and in the previous chapter, we read some descriptions about the power of this weapon called Brahmastra. Prabhupada says it's similar to a nuclear bomb in that it radiates immense heat and energy and light. But Prabhupada says it's much, much more powerful. Like we read in the last chapter, when Arjuna, he released his Brahmastra to counteract Aswatthama's Brahmastra. When the 2 Brahmastras collided, then the heat and the energy that radiated from the 2 Brahmastras was felt by every single living entity in all the different planetary systems in the whole universe. So from that we can, get an idea of how powerful this weapon Brahmastra is. Let's mention Bhagavatam, the universe is 4 billion miles wide. So such, how big is the universe? So much space, and there's so many planets and so many planetary systems. And Bhagavatam explains that every single living entity in all the planetary systems, they could feel the heat radiated by these 2 weapons colliding together. So compared to the modern nuclear weapons, Prabhupada concludes that it's nothing in comparison to the Brahmastra. It's so much more, it has so much more power, so much that its effect can be felt in the whole universe. So that's the power of the Brahmastra in terms of like its magnitude. It's like similar to the heat, like Bhagavatam compares it to the heat that's generated during the time of annihilation of the universe. And in today's purport, Prabhupada is not talking so much about the power of the Brahmastra as he did in the last chapter. Prabhupada's talking about the fineness of the Brahmastra, in the sense that Prabhupada says that in our modern day, when we release like bombs or nuclear weapons, atomic bombs, then that weapon, when it lands on the target, it doesn't just kill like one person or two persons or like a group of soldiers, but it completely annihilates, the whole city, the whole town, the whole village. And in the course of doing that, so many innocent civilians, innocent, men, women, and children, they all get killed. So although the purpose of the atomic bomb nuclear weapons is to, kill the miscreants on the other side, but in the course of doing that, they end up killing a lot of innocent people as well. So that's the nature of today's modern weapons. But Prabhupada says Brahmastra is not like that. Even though Brahmastra is so powerful that its heat can be felt throughout the whole universe, still a Brahmastra is like so made that simply by chanting mantras, one can target the Brahmastra at only a particular person. So the Brahmastra will only hit a particular person that which it's aimed at. So even though it's so powerful, like if I'm like a fire, I'm releasing this arrow, and if I just want one person to get killed, then only that one person will get killed, and not the persons or the city or the village around him, or not this whole city. Only one single entity which I'm aiming the arrow, that person will get killed. So in this way, Prabhupada explains, he makes a comparison between, the technology during Vedic times and our modern day technology. So in this way, we can understand that our modern day technology, even though we think we're so advanced, in modern technology, 5,000 years ago, the technology they had was so much more advanced. It was so much more powerful and also so much more intricate that even though it's such a powerful weapon, you would expect that if it's released, it will just, blow up a whole planet or something. But the weapon is so made that just by chanting mantras, and the fighter or the warrior could just make sure that the weapon only hits a certain person or certain entities, and no one else is affected, no innocent people are killed. So in this case, Aswatthama, he's just releasing the Brahmastra, and his target is the 5 Pandavas and the baby in the womb. Okay, that's pretty much the basic theme of what Prabhupada is explaining to us. We'll continue on to the next text, text number 13. Vyasanam vikshya tatesam ananya visayatmanam sudarsanena swastrena swanam raksham vyadhat vibhu. The Almighty Personal Godhead Sri Krishna, having observed that a great danger was befalling his unalloyed devotees, who were fully surrendered souls, at once took up his Sudarshana disc to protect them. Purport: the Brahmastra, the supreme weapon released by Aswatthama, was something similar to the nuclear weapon, but with more radiation and heat. This Brahmastra is the product of a more subtle science, being the product of a finer sound, a mantra recorded in the Vedas. Another advantage of this weapon is that it's not blind like the nuclear weapon, because it can be directed only to the target and nothing else. So Prabhupada again is further elaborating, reiterating the point of Brahmastra. So first thing, obviously the power, it's the immense heat and radiation it emits. And the second thing Prabhupada mentions, like we're discussing, it's not blind like nuclear weapons. It only hit a particular target and nothing else. And the third thing, which we haven't discussed, Prabhupada says that this Brahmastra is a product of subtle science. So usually to create modern nuclear weapons, that people have to spend so much money and so much resources and so many material resources, money and time, energy is used to make one nuclear weapon. Like I was hearing one class by Guru Maharaj, he was saying that, the Americans at the moment, I'm not sure, it's not like a recent lecture, I think maybe a few years ago, my Guru Maharaj was saying that recently America, they did an upgrade of their nuclear, of like their weapons, and the upgrade cost like some billions and billions of dollars. And my Guru Maharaj said he was curious and he did a calculation, and he calculated that if the same money America spent on upgrading their nuclear weapons, with that same amount of money, we could build like 16,000 TVPs, some crazy number like that. So just imagine that. And that's just to upgrade the weapon. That's not just to build the weapons, but just to upgrade them, enhance them, and build more. So much money. And all this money, where is it coming from? It's coming from the tax of the citizens. So in this way, like Bhagavatam explains 12th canto, that in Kali Yuga, the rulers of society, the government, they will simply be, rogues and thieves. They will just steal money from the citizens in the form of tax, but they won't benefit the citizens with that. Rather, they'll just steal and use it for useless purposes like this. So much money gets wasted in just building nuclear weapons, and it just stays there. And who does it benefit? And it doesn't. Even if they use it, it's not going to benefit them. It's just going to kill, hundreds, thousands, and millions of innocent people. So with that same money, we can build so many temples and do so much actually. So this is the nature of modern nuclear weapons. That just to build few nuclear weapons, so much money, so much time, so much resources are spent. But whereas in the case of this Brahmastra, even though it's so powerful that its effect can be felt throughout the whole universe, even though it's so powerful, one doesn't have to put so much endeavor to make this astra, or one doesn't have to put so much money, material resources, time, energy. But one can simply invoke this astra, this weapon, just by the subtle science of sound, by chanting mantras. And this science was taught in Gurukul to the Kshatriyas, they would learn. So Arjuna, Asvatthama, they all learned the science from their military teacher, Dronacharya. So again, we see, we can compare the modern weapons compared to the Vedic technology, So firstly, they're a lot more powerful. Secondly, they're not blind like our current weapons. And thirdly, Prabhupada saying, they're made out of a more subtle science of sound. Just by chanting mantras, they can make these weapons. Okay, we'll continue with the purport. Asvatthama released the weapon just to finish all the male members of Pandu's family. Therefore, in one sense, it was more dangerous than the atomic bombs because it could penetrate even the most protected place and would never miss the target. So another quality of Brahmastra is that nothing could stop the Brahmastra. Any guards or defense you put up, it will just break through all of that and it will go straight to the target. Knowing all this, Lord Shri Krishna at once took up his personal weapon to protect his devotees, who did not know anyone other than Krishna. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord has clearly promised that his devotees are never to be vanquished, and he behaves according to the quality or degree of the devotional service rendered by the devotees. Here the word Ananya Visayatmanam is significant. The Pandavas were 100% dependent on the protection of the Lord, although they were all great warriors themselves. But the Lord neglects even the greatest warriors and also vanquishes them in no time. When the Lord saw that there was no time for the Pandavas to counteract the Brahmastra of Asvatthama, he took up his weapon even at the risk of breaking his own vow. Although the battle of Kurukshetra was almost finished, still according to his vow, he should not have taken up his own weapon. But the emergency was more important than the vow. He is better known as the Bhakta Vatsala, or the lover of his devotee. And thus, he preferred to continue as Bhakta Vatsala than to be a worldly moralist who never breaks his solemn vow. Okay, so the rest of the purport, Prabhupada is talking about how Krishna lovingly always looks after devotees, how he always protects his dear devotees. And firstly, Prabhupada says that, the question could be asked, why did Krishna have to interfere? The Pandavas were there. Arjuna has a Brahmastra as well. Bhima, Yudhishthira, they could have all released their weapons and counteracted his Brahmastra, just like Arjuna did in the previous chapter. But in this purport, Prabhupada says that in this situation, the Pandavas, they didn't have enough time to counteract the Brahmastra. It was coming towards them so quickly that Arjuna and all the other Pandavas, they didn't have enough time to release the weapons to counteract. Therefore, seeing this, Krishna now he comes in and he takes charge. And he releases his Sudarshana Chakra to protect his devotees. And this is very significant. Prabhupada says that Krishna had taken a vow that he wouldn't fight in the battle of Kurukshetra. He wouldn't pick up any weapons. So we all know that story that before the battle started, Duryodhana, Arjuna, they both go to Krishna and they ask for Krishna's help in the battlefield. And Duryodhana, he asks for Krishna's Narayani Sena army. And then Arjuna asks, first Arjuna gets the choice which to pick, whether to pick the army of Krishna or to pick Krishna himself. And Krishna makes it clear that you can pick me, I'll be on your side, but I won't pick up any weapon in this battlefield. But even though Krishna says he won't pick up any weapon, still Arjuna chooses him. And when Duryodhana, he sees this, he gets very happy. He thinks, this Arjuna, he's so stupid. What value is, just one guy on your side who won't even pick up any weapon? How is he going to benefit you? And on the other side, you have a whole army with all these amazing weapons and strength. So much more power, is in the army. And on one side, you just have one normal human being. He won't even fight, he won't even pick up his weapons. So what is the use? So like this, Duryodhana's calculating, and he becomes very happy. So this is like, materialistic calculation. And sometimes, we can notice ourselves also, calculating material, in terms of material terms. But Arjuna, he was happy with Krishna, because wherever there's Krishna, there's always victory. Krishna is the Supreme Lord. He doesn't have to pick up a weapon to do what he wants. He's, like we sing, Angani Yasya Sakalendra Vitrimanti, that he can perform anything through any one of his body parts. Just like with that person, Roma Harshana, Balram, to kill Roma Harshana, he didn't have to use any weapons, He just picked up a piece of grass and he just tapped Roma Harshana, and then he died. So in that section of Krishna, Prabhupada, he quotes this verse by Lord Brahma, Angani Yasya Sakalendriya Vritrimanti, that Krishna's body is absolute, and whatever he wants, he can do any function through any one of his body parts. So through his eyes, he can do anything, through his ears, nose, anything. He can do whatever he wants. So Arjuna, he understood this, so Arjuna happily, he took Krishna on his side. Although Krishna promised that in this battlefield, I won't pick up a weapon. But this vow or promise that Krishna took, he broke twice actually. Not just once. Obviously the first time he broke, we've discussed this, last few weeks, a couple of times, that when Bhishma Dev, he'd taken a vow, okay, tomorrow I'm going to kill all the 5 Pandavas and bring them their heads to you, Duryodhana. So next day, Bhishma Dev, he was fighting so ferociously, the Pandavas, they just couldn't cope up. And Arjuna, he was losing ground. And when Krishna, he saw this, even though he had promised that he wouldn't pick up a weapon, actually Bhishma Dev, when Bhishma Dev found out how Krishna, by trickery, he had stolen those 5 arrows. So Bhishma Dev, he had given 5 arrows to Duryodhana and told him, okay, you keep this protected. Tomorrow in the battlefield, using these same 5 arrows, I will kill the 5 Pandavas. And then Krishna, he tells Arjuna, remember one time Duryodhana promised you that whatever in the future, any benediction you want, I'll give you. You come and ask me. So Krishna tells Arjuna, now is the time. You go to Duryodhana and ask him for the 5 arrows Bhishma Dev has given him. So Arjuna goes to Duryodhana and says, remember, you promised me that you'll give me any benediction I want. And Duryodhana says, yes. What would you like? You want my whole army? You want, like that. He was like, you want the kingdom? So Arjuna said, no. We'll continue with the battlefield, with the battle. Nothing like that. I just want the 5 arrows that Bhishma Dev given you. So that way Arjuna takes, and when Bhishma Dev finds out, he understands, okay, it's this Krishna who has done this. Otherwise, how would Arjuna find out that Duryodhana has these arrows? So then Bhishma Dev, in the Kshatriya spirit, he then says, okay, tomorrow I'm going to make, either I'll kill Arjuna or I'll make Krishna break his vow and pick up his weapon to protect Arjuna. So Krishna, to protect the vow or promise of Bhishma Dev, he picks up his own weapon, just so Bhishma Dev's promise is intact. So from this, again, we see this quality of Krishna. Prabhupada says, Bhakta Vatsala, he's the lover of his devotees. And for his devotees' sakes, he doesn't mind even breaking his own promise. So, for us, like breaking a promise is not such a big deal. In like modern culture, like we make so many promises and we break so many promises. It's just like, just like natural. And no one thinks so much of it. But in Vedic culture, to make a vow is like such a big thing. So much so, if one is not able to keep a vow, then he'll he'll commit suicide. And it's like such a disgraceful thing, actually. So breaking vows in Vedic culture is like a very, like a very bad thing considered. So, but Krishna, he did this twice in the battle for Kurukshetra. And both times he did for the sake of his devotees. Even though because of this, he knew in the future, persons of low intelligence, Mudas who considered him as a normal human being, they would criticize Krishna. Like nowadays, if you go to India, so many people who watch Mahabharata or read certain edition of Mahabharata, they would criticize Krishna. Oh, because of Krishna, this battle happened. Because of Krishna, so many warriors, they got killed. So many innocent people were killed. Because of Krishna, Krishna, he broke so many rules in the battlefield. When Karna, he was unarmed, he was away from this chariot, he didn't have any weapons. Krishna instructed Arjuna to kill Karna. Like this, Krishna did so many, irreligious things on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Like there's so many people, low-class intelligence, who haven't read, properly. They criticize Krishna. So Krishna knows that if he breaks his vow, if he breaks his promise, in the future, so many people, they would criticize him. But still, for the sake of his devotees, he doesn't mind this blasphemy. For the sake of keeping his devotees' promise, he's willing to break his own vow. So the first time he does this in the battle is with Bhishma Dev, just to keep Bhishma Dev's vow, that he'll fight so valiantly that he'll force Krishna to break his vow and pick up his weapon, just to protect Arjuna. So to keep Bhishma Dev's vow, Krishna first broke his vow. Now again, so Prabhupada mentions, although pretty much everyone was dead, Prabhupada says, still the battle was not finished. It was almost finished. Although the battlefield of Kurukshetra was almost finished, still according to his vow, he should not have taken up his own weapon. So now again, Krishna breaks his vow by picking up his Sudarshana Chakra to counteract the Brahmastra released by Asvatthama. So this way again we see how Krishna, he takes care of devotees. He doesn't mind, bad name or harm coming to himself, but he just cares about the protection of the devotees. Like remember in one verse, I think in third canto, when the four Kumaras, they tried to go into Vaikuntha, and then Jay and Vijay, they stop the four Kumaras, and then the four Kumaras, they curse Jay and Vijay. Then Vishnu, who comes out, and then Vishnu, he prays and pacifies the Brahmanas, and he's glorifying the four Kumaras or Brahmanas. And one verse he says, actually, to the four Kumaras, he says that the Brahmanas, the Vaishnavas, the devotees, they're so dear to me that if one of my body parts, if my arm is somehow or other causing distress to a devotee or a Brahmana, then I'm even willing to chop off my own arm for their benefit. So like this Vishnu says in one verse to the four Kumaras. So, from this we can understand, how much affection Krishna has for his devotees. He says that even if my arm is causing distress to a devotee, I'm willing to even chop off my arm just for their benefit, for their sake. So like this, in that section, so many amazing verses Krishna gives glorifying his devotees. He even says another verse, famous verse, he says that I take more enjoyment being fed through the mouth of Brahmanas or devotees than I do by being fed through the fire sacrifice. So whenever we do a fire yagna, the fire kund, the fire in the middle, that's considered to be the mouth of Vishnu. And when we pour oblations, it's like we're pouring oblations into the mouth of Vishnu, and that way we are worshipping Vishnu. But Krishna says, more relishable than that, I find more pleasure, more relish in taking food through the mouth of devotees, taking food through the mouth of the Brahmanas. Because the Brahmanas, the devotees, they're considered to be the head of the Supreme Lord, the mouth of the Supreme Lord. So like this, so many, that's a very nice section about them, where Krishna is talking to the four Kumaras, he's just giving verse after verse, glorifying devotees of Lord. Yes, so another nice verse Prabhu is quoting is Sadhava Hridayamayam. Sadhava, what's the second? Matanya Tena Janati Nayam Evak. This verse Krishna says in the Leela with Durvasa Muni and Maharaj Ambrish. So the devotees are always in my heart, and I'm also in the heart of my devotees. The devotees don't know anything except for me, and I don't know anyone else except for my devotees. So that's another amazing pastime which highlights the protection of Krishna's devotees. So in that case also Krishna, he releases the same Sudarshan Chakra. When Durvasa Muni, created this fiery demon out of his hair to kill Maharaj Ambrish, Krishna immediately sends his Sudarshan Chakra for his protection. So like this we see so many instances. Another one I can think of in Chaitanya Charitamrita, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, leaving, I think, Jagannath Puri to travel, and then Gadadhar Pandit, he also wants to leave with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and accompany Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But Gadadhar Pandit, he's taken a vow. He's taken a vow of Kshetra Sannyas. So Kshetra Sannyas means that you take a vow to stay in one holy place of pilgrimage, and you worship a particular deity, and you stay there for your whole life, and you worship that particular deity. So Gadadhar Pandit, he had like a deity of Krishna. I can't remember the name, but he had taken this vow of Kshetra Sannyas to stay in this holy place and to worship this deity of Krishna for his whole life and not go anywhere else. But now he was willing to just break his vow and just travel with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, wherever Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was going for preaching. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw that Gadadhar Pandit was following him, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was like telling Gadadhar Pandit, hey, how come you're following me? You've taken Kshetra Sannyas, you've taken this vow. You should stay here and worship, your deity of Krishna. You should worship your deity. How can you just break your vow like this? Stay back, don't travel with me. And then Gadadhar Pandit was like, no, you are Krishna, you are non-different from my deity. You are Krishna himself. So by going with you, I'm also serving my, my Krishna, my deity. So it's not like you're different, my deity is different. So like this, Gadadhar Pandit explained Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, just so that his devotee wouldn't break his vow, what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu does is that he externally becomes angry, and then he chastises Gadadhar Pandit. And he says, you're just selfish. You're just being so selfish, you just want to travel and enjoy with me. And just for the sake of your own enjoyment, for your own sense gratification, you want to travel and enjoy with me by traveling. And you're willing to give up your religious principles, give up your dharma, duty, just for your own selfish sense gratification. So like this, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he speaks so many harshly, he chastises Gadadhar Pandit. When Gadadhar Pandit, he hears this, he just like faints. And when he wakes up, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is already gone. He's taken the boat and gone across. And then in this purport, Prabhupada explains that although externally it seems that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has dealt with Gadadhar Pandit very harshly, he is his devotee, so sold out, and he wants to travel with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And obviously, he's a pure devotee of Lord. He doesn't want to travel with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for his own sense gratification, for his own selfish purpose. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu knew this. But still, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chastised him because he saw that there's no other way that he would stay back and follow his vow. So Prabhupada explains, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't want, for his sake, his devotee to break his vow. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, externally, he had to become angry and chastise Gadadhar Pandit, just so Gadadhar Pandit would be forced to, follow his vow and of Kshetra Sannyas and stay in that holy place. So that's another example of how Krishna, he protects the vow of his devotees. And in terms of Krishna's protection, like Sukadeva Goswami, he says, that in second canto of Bhagavatam, in I think first or second chapter, he's explaining about the fallible soldiers, that, our family, our relatives, our friend, our bodily strength, our material possessions, our opulence, government, society, all of these different things around us, they're all fallible soldiers. None of these can give us protection. None of these can protect us. The only person who can protect us is Krishna. And if you think about it, analyze it, how often are we surrounded by our friends? Sometime during the day, we're surrounded by our friends. And the other times we're alone or with some other person. How much percentage of the time are we with our parents, Only certain section during the day, we're either with our friends or family or our parents. Our parents can't be with us 24 hours a day. Our friends can't be with us 24 hours a day, A husband or a wife, a brother or a sister or a friend, they can't be with us 24 hours a day. So even in terms of time, they can't be with us, constantly during the whole day. Plus, they're also conditioned souls, and death will one day come and take them away. So we can take help from a friend only for a certain amount of time. One day our friend or our mother or father or grandfather, all these persons who take help from, one day they will have to leave this world. So we can't rely on them for a whole life, Any moment, death can come and take them away. And that's it, they're gone. So both in terms of time during a day, they can't be with us 24 hours. Secondly, one day they're going to have to leave this body and they'll be gone. And we can't associate with them anymore. So in this way, if we analyze, we see actually, what Sukadeva Goswami is saying is actually right, that there are fallible soldiers, which means one day they'll fall. One day they can't help us in every situation. The only person who can help us in every situation, no matter what, without, any miss, is Krishna. And thirdly, how much, power is in the hands of our friends, family, or society to give us protection, Like Krishna, not only is he omniscient, he's omnipotent. So, just like we're seeing here, that this Brahmastra is coming towards the Pandavas and towards the baby in the womb of Mother Uttara. And, Uttara, she could have gone to the Pandavas and asked for their help. But instead, she's going straight to Krishna. So from this, again, we see, even though the Pandavas, they're such great, powerful warriors, they have so many amazing weapons, still in this situation, they couldn't do anything. They didn't have enough time to counteract the Brahmastra. But Krishna, he can solve any situation. Any problem we have in life, Krishna can help us. Whereas our friends and family, although they might be alive and healthy, they can't help us in every situation. They're not omnipotent. They don't have all the power and potency like Krishna. And secondly, Krishna is omniscient. So Krishna knows what problems we're going through. He knows our mind. He knows, what we're facing inside. And based on that, he can help us. Whereas, all these other persons around us, unless we tell them, okay, maybe from our face they could get some idea, okay, if we're sad or happy or depressed. But they can't read our mind, They don't know what's going inside our mind, what's going in our consciousness, what we're thinking of. But Krishna, he's sitting in our heart as Super Soul. So, and he knows everything that's going on in our heart, in our mind. So that way he's omniscient. And he can, so that's another reason why we should take shelter of Krishna. Firstly, he's omnipotent, that he has so much power and potency that no matter what situation we put in, he can help us get out. Secondly, he's omniscient. He knows, what we're going through, and he can help us according to that. Like, I remember when I was reading third Canto Bhagavatam, it's given that when the baby is born, like Maharaj was quoting from that chapter on Sunday, the soul goes into semen, then it's put into the womb of the female, then it slowly starts growing, the embryo, and the baby starts growing, and then the baby is born, and then, it's given in Bhagavatam that the whole chapter of Bhagavatam is describing about the miseries of material existence. So it starts off by explaining the miseries of birth, how painful birth is. And that's why, whenever you see a child born, it's always crying. No child is smiling when it's born. Every single child that's born is crying because birth is a very, very, very painful process. And even before birth, it's given when the baby is in the womb, it suffers so much, so many worms and different living entities which are inside the womb of the mother, they're all biting the child, and the child is being bitten. And if the mother takes some hot, pungent food, and then the child is forced to eat that, he doesn't get a say. And that burns the child. So that way, Bhagavatam explains how the child suffers so much in the womb, and then plus it's, it's in such a confined space. And imagine, just staying like this for, if we cramp ourselves, just like, how a child cramps himself, we can't even sit in that position for 10 minutes, what to speak, for 7-8 months. But the child has to be in that position 7-8 months. So much suffering he goes through while he's in the womb. Then again, when it's born, it's given is such a painful experience. That's why the child is always crying when it's born, because it's such a painful experience. And then after that, it's given in Bhagavatam that how the child suffers furthermore, that sometimes the baby would cry, out of hunger. Or the child will cry because in the, I don't know the term, you put the baby in a basket or something with cushions and bed. So Bhagavatam explains that the baby would urinate or pass stool in that, and there will be a lot of bugs and germs, and these bugs and germs in the bedding of the baby would bite the baby, and the baby will suffer continuously, furthermore like that. And whenever the baby cries, the parents, they don't know why the baby is crying. They make an assumption and they think, okay, maybe the baby is crying because he's hungry. And even though the baby might not be hungry, they'll feed the child. The baby is crying because he's being bitten by bugs, but the parents, they don't know this, because the parents aren't omniscient like Krishna. So the parents will do something opposite. So like this Bhagavatam further explains how the child will suffer. Because he can't speak, he can't tell his parents, okay, I'm crying because of this, or I'm crying because I'm hungry, or I'm crying because this is biting me. He can't speak. So the fathers or the mother, they have to assume, okay, maybe he's crying because he's hungry, okay, feed him something. Or maybe he's crying because of this. So they can't read the child's mind. They don't know what's the actual desire of the mind. So in this way, if we analyze, we can understand that actually what Sukadeva Goswami is not exaggerating, it's actually true, that all these persons around us, they're all fallible soldiers. The only person who can give us real protection is Krishna and no one else. Krishna is omnipotent and he's also omniscient. Just like with Prahlad Maharaj, when Hiranyakashipu, he got his sword out, so many different times Hiranyakashipu, he tried to kill Prahlad Maharaj in so many different ways. And each time Krishna protected him. Whereas a normal living entity, they couldn't do anything. Hiranyakashipu was so powerful, no other living entity in the universe could come to Prahlad Maharaj's defense. But Krishna could, because he's omnipotent. So in this way, we can see how Krishna is always there. And this is not something theoretical. We can also experience Krishna's protection in our life. Like if we just contemplate, and I'm sure we all had this experience that like we were in a certain situation or trouble, and then Krishna, somehow or other, he helped us get out. So if we just analyze our own life, we'll see how so many times in our own life situations, Krishna has helped us. Like I was reading one example recently of Mukunda Maharaj in his book. He's explaining, like this is right at the beginning, in like early 1960s. He's just a brand new devotee. And he gets a letter in his email, in his mailbox, and the US Army is calling him to get drafted to go to Vietnam for the war. During that time, the Vietnam War was going on. So many, American youth, they were being called by the US Army, and they would be, they'll do a medical study of the persons. If they're fit and healthy, they would send them off to Vietnam to fight in the war. So for many years, he was getting these letters from the US Army. He was just ignoring these letters and not responding. But then finally, one letter came, and this was like a warning from the police or the government that if this time you don't come to the office and show yourself, then you'll be put in jail. So Mukunda Maharaj explains he didn't want to go to jail. He already had bad experience in jail. So he was thinking, okay, now I'll be forced to go for this interview with the US Army. And he was thinking, what should he do? Because he doesn't want to go to Vietnam, and fight in this war. You go there and just get killed, just waste your life. So he's thinking, what should he do? How can he get out? One of his friends was telling him that the US Army, they only take persons who are like, physically and mentally fit. If someone is mentally ill or physically disabled, how will he fight in the war? So they won't take him in. So his friend was telling him what he did. Just a few days before he had to go, he just took like lots of drugs and different things. And that way, when he went for the interview, he was like in complete deranged state, and he's mentally unstable. So when the officials, they saw him, they just disregarded him. Okay, this guy is just a crazy guy, mental guy. What kind of fighting will he do in Vietnam? So that way he was released. So Maharaj was thinking, okay, this is okay, but I've taken a vow, I've taken shelter of this Swamiji, and he's saying, no illicit sex, no gambling, no intoxication, no meat eating, and I don't want to break my vow. So he was considered, what should he do? And in the back of his mind, he'd heard from Swamiji that Krishna always protects his devotees. So he's just like complete brand new devotee. He doesn't have so much experience. He hasn't read much or heard much. But he just remembers this one line that, okay, Swamiji always saying that Krishna protects his devotees. Maybe I should just go and do nothing and Krishna will protect me. And so in the end, he decides to do that. In the end, he decides that I won't take any drugs or anything or act as a mental. I'll just go and face it. Krishna will somehow or other protect me. So he goes in, and then once he enters the office, then again his mind starts playing tricks, and he thinks, oh man, I should have followed what my friend said and taken these drugs and, act like all mental. Now they'll see me and they'll immediately deport me to Vietnam to fight in this war. So he was like, very scared and nervous. And to calm himself down, he was chanting Hare Krishna to himself. So he was silently, while he was waiting in the office, in the line, there was many persons lined up for the interview. He was silently chanting to himself, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram, Ram. He was silently mumbling, chanting to himself. And the person at the desk, she noticed, him mumbling something to himself. And then his turn came, and then she looked at his file, and then he sent him to one room. And then when he goes to one particular room, he sees that everyone in that room, somehow or other, they look a bit weird, funny. They seem a bit mentally ill. And then he realizes, yes, that I've been sent to the room where all the persons who seem to be mentally ill, they're going for the interview. So what had happened, he didn't plan for this. What had happened was that because he was chanting to himself, when the receptionist, she saw Mukunda Maharaj just chanting Hare Krishna, so she didn't know what he was doing. She didn't know he's chanting a mantra or prayer to God. She just thought, this guy's crazy, Ordinary, if some person just sees someone, just murmuring to himself, like, they think, this guy is gone nuts or going crazy. So the receptionist thought that this guy is mentally ill. So by Krishna's arrangement, he got sent to the room where all the mentally ill people was there. So then he said, okay, so this Hare Krishna is actually protecting me. This chanting actually works. So then to act even more crazy, when he went to the room where the persons who look mentally ill are getting interviewed, then he started loudly chanting Hare Krishna. Before it was murmuring, so then he started chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So then he just loudly started chanting Hare Krishna, and he avoided eye contact with everyone, and that way he acted more crazy. And then from there he got sent to a psychiatrist. And then again, the psychiatrist, okay, so looks like this guy something's wrong with him. So they signed him off as, they gave him like one particular thing. Okay, this guy is on this level, he's not fit for the army. Only in emergent situations we'll draft him. So that way he got released. So then Mukhi Maharaj, he shares with us that yes, from this he got the realization that yes, Krishna actually protects his devotees. So like this, many times in our own lives, we can see how Krishna protects us. So it's not something theoretical, we can see in our own lives as well. Okay, we're over time. We'll stop it. Gantra Srimad Bhagvatam ki jai, Jaguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, entire Gaur Premanande.